Angola, a country on the west coast of southern Africa, has a really long and interesting history. Long before Europeans arrived, many different groups of people lived there. They built their own societies and customs. Some of the most famous were the Congo, Ndongo, and Lunda kingdoms. These kingdoms were really good at governing themselves, making art and trading with others. They left a lasting impact on Angola's culture. The Congo kingdom, in particular, was a big player in the trade game. When they met Portuguese explorers in the late 1400s, things in Angola changed forever. The Portuguese arriving brought new ideas and challenges, leading to both good and bad times, and eventually a fight for freedom. The Portuguese arrived in the late 1400s, driven by a desire to expand their trade networks and find new sources of wealth. They were among the first Europeans to explore the African coast, and their arrival marked the beginning of a new era of interaction between Europe and Africa. The Congo Kingdom, with its established trade routes and abundant resources, became a central point for these early interactions. The kingdom was already a thriving and sophisticated society, with a complex political structure and extensive trade networks that connected it to other parts of Africa. However, the Portuguese were not content with merely trading. They sought to exert control over the land and its people, leading to conflicts with the indigenous populations. These confrontations were often violent and marked the beginning of a long and tumultuous relationship. Over time, the Portuguese established a stronger presence in Angola, gradually expanding their control over the region. They built forts and trading posts, and their influence grew as they integrated themselves into the local political and economic systems. The relationship between the Portuguese and the African kingdoms was complex and often fraught with tension. While some African leaders saw opportunities in forming alliances with the Portuguese, others resisted their encroachment, leading to numerous battles and skirmishes. Some African rulers recognized the potential benefits of working with the Portuguese, such as gaining access to European goods and military support. These alliances were strategic, but they also came with significant risks and often led to internal divisions within the African kingdoms. The transatlantic slave trade, a brutal and inhumane practice, further complicated the dynamics between the Portuguese and the African kingdoms. The demand for slaves in the Americas drove the Portuguese to capture and transport millions of Africans, causing immense suffering and disruption to African societies. This period marked the beginning of a long and difficult era for Angola under Portuguese rule. The legacy of colonization left deep scars on the land and its people, shaping the course of Angolan history for centuries to come. The struggle for power, resources, and autonomy would continue to define the region's future. Even though life was hard under colonial rule, the people of Angola started to feel like they belonged together. The harsh conditions they faced daily, from forced labor to heavy taxation, created a shared experience of suffering and resilience. This common struggle began to weave a sense of unity among the diverse ethnic groups scattered across the region. Being treated badly by the Portuguese made different ethnic groups feel united. The oppressive policies and brutal treatment by the colonial authorities did not discriminate. They affected everyone, regardless of their ethnic background. This collective adversity fostered a growing sense of solidarity and a shared identity as Angolans. By the 1900s, this feeling of being Angolan started to show up in organized resistance movements. Small groups began to form, discussing ideas of freedom and self-determination. These early activists were inspired by the global movements for independence and human rights, and they started to dream of a future where Angola could be free from colonial rule. Inspired by other African countries fighting for freedom, Angolans began to demand their own independence and an end to colonial control. The successes of neighboring countries in their struggles for liberation provided a powerful example and a source of hope. Angolan leaders and activists drew strength from these victories, believing that they too could achieve independence. These early groups who fought for freedom were punished harshly by the Portuguese. The colonial government responded with severe repression, imprisoning activists, banning political gatherings, and using violence to suppress any signs of dissent. Despite these brutal tactics, the spirit of resistance could not be extinguished, but the punishment only made them stronger. Each act of repression only fueled the determination of the Angolan people. Underground networks and secret meetings became more organized, and the resolve to fight for freedom grew even more intense. The resilience of these early activists laid the groundwork for a broader national movement. The desire for freedom and self-governance kept growing, leading to a long and difficult fight for independence. Over the decades, the movement gained momentum, with more people joining the cause and more organized efforts to challenge colonial rule. The struggle was marked by significant sacrifices, but the vision of an independent Angola kept the spirit of resistance alive. The idea of a free Angola, once planted, was growing stronger and getting ready to blossom into a powerful force. The seeds of nationalism had taken root, and the dream of independence was no longer just a distant hope, but an imminent reality. The collective efforts and unwavering spirit of the Angolan people were set to transform their nation's future. In the 1950s, many African countries wanted independence, and Angola was one of them. The Angolan War of Independence, a long and terrible war, began in 1961. Different groups formed, each with its own ideas and supporters. The MPLA, FNLA and UNITA became the main groups fighting for freedom. The war for independence was complicated. Other countries got involved, supporting different sides, which made the fighting worse and lasted longer. Even though it was very hard, the people of Angola never gave up wanting to be free from Portuguese control. Their strength and spirit would eventually lead to independence. After gaining independence from Portugal in 1975, Angola fell into a terrible civil war. The fighting, which lasted for over 20 years, was between the MPLA and UNITA. Other countries continued to get involved, supporting different sides. So the war was a disaster for the newly independent nation. It caused many deaths, forced people from their homes and destroyed buildings and roads. The civil war tore Angola apart and left deep emotional scars. Millions of people died, and the country's development was stopped in its tracks. The war also caused a huge crisis, with millions of people without homes, food, or basic needs. The effects of the civil war are still felt in Angola today, but the country has made good progress towards peace. After decades of fighting, Angola finally found peace in 2002. The civil war, which lasted for 27 years, had left the country in ruins, with countless lives lost and infrastructure destroyed. The peace agreement marked the beginning of a new era for Angola, filled with both challenges and opportunities. The end of the civil war was a turning point, allowing the country to start rebuilding and recovering. The government, along with various international organizations, began extensive efforts to restore the nation's infrastructure. The government had the huge job of fixing roads and buildings, which were essential for reconnecting communities and boosting economic activities. Roads that had been impassable for years were repaired, and new buildings began to rise from the rubble, helping people return to their homes, many of which had been abandoned or destroyed during the conflict. Families who had been displaced for years were finally able to come back and rebuild their lives, and encouraging everyone to get along again. Community meetings and reconciliation efforts were crucial in mending the social fabric torn apart by years of war. People from different backgrounds and ethnicities came together to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose. Even though it was a difficult task, there was a real feeling of hope among the Angolan people. The resilience and determination of the population played a significant role in the nation's recovery. Since the war, Angola has made big steps forward. The capital city, Luanda, has seen significant development, with modern buildings and bustling streets symbolizing the country's progress. The government has been working to improve the economy, reduce poverty, and create job opportunities. Markets are thriving, and agricultural activities have resumed, providing livelihoods for many and make life better for people. Education and healthcare systems have been prioritized, with new schools and hospitals being built to serve the population. Help from other countries has been important in rebuilding Angola, providing aid and investment. International partnerships have brought in resources and expertise, aiding in the nation's recovery efforts. While there are still problems, Angola's focus on peace and development is leading to a better future. The journey is far from over, but the progress made so far is a testament to the strength and resilience of the Angolan people. In the 21st century, Angola has become an important country in Africa. Its large oil reserves have helped its economy grow quickly, making it one of the fastest growing in the world. Angola has also become more involved in regional politics, working for peace and stability in Central and Southern Africa. Its growing economic and political power has made it a key player in shaping the continent's future. Even with its economic progress, Angola still faces challenges like poverty, inequality, and corruption. Dealing with these problems is important for making sure everyone benefits from the country's growth. The government has started programs to fight poverty, improve education and healthcare, and encourage good government. Angola's commitment to these challenges will determine its future success. Looking ahead, Angola has both challenges and opportunities. It needs to make its economy less dependent on oil and gas. Investing in education, healthcare and infrastructure is very important for helping people and creating a fairer society. Dealing with corruption and encouraging good government are vital for attracting investment and making sure everyone benefits from economic growth. Angola's young population is both an opportunity and a challenge. Helping young people learn and find jobs will be important for preventing unrest and building a better future. Angola's ability to handle these challenges will determine its path in the 21st century. Angola's history shows how strong and determined its people are. From surviving centuries of colonial rule to recovering from a terrible civil war, Angolans have always shown they can overcome hardship. Their rich culture, diverse traditions and never give up spirit have shaped the nation and continue to inspire hope for a better future. As Angola continues to develop and grow, it remembers the lessons of its past. Peace, unity and prosperity are still the most important goals. By embracing its culture, investing in its people and tackling its challenges, Angola can become a symbol of hope and progress in Africa and the world. Angola's future is bright, and its people are ready to write a new chapter in their amazing story.